because, come on, that's splitting hairs.
All right, I don't know if Kit's question is correct or not, so I'll ask it on his behalf. Talking about the total solar eclipses, why do the majority of them tend to happen in the southern hemisphere and Southeast Asia? Bob, I've never heard this. Is this correct, or is it wrong?
It's not correct. All areas of the Earth equally get those eclipses, but on any shorter term period, for example, if you look at the track made by the moon shadow as it sweeps over Earth, if you just look at a 5 or 10 or 20-year period, then just the laws of chance come into play, and you may get more eclipses in one part of the Earth than another. But in a longer period of time, they're randomly everywhere.
Are there eclipses with other planets and other moons?
Yes, in fact, it's a very unlikely scenario, but if you were, you'd be seeing the sun eclipse by one or another of Jupiter's moons. So yeah, it happens elsewhere.
All right, Bob, we're going to pause for a little commercial break. It's 30 seconds. Most of you will see the commercial. Some of you will see just 30 seconds of black. And when we come back, we're going to come back with Tarek Malik from space.com, who has more to tell you about what's going on tonight. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. And we're back at slew.com. Hi, I'm Jeff Fox, and tonight we're joined by Bob Berman, our slew astronomer, and we're being joined in just a second by Tarek Malik from far off and very exotic Brooklyn, as I remember. You know, when I was reading your bio, Tarek, all I saw was that you were an Eagle Scout and you'd been to space camp 4 times. So I'm figuring you're the kind of nerd
of the United States in a mere 2-year period. I'm thinking back in my whole life, I don't recall. Maybe that's happened, but it certainly is rare. So what's going on with that?
Well, yeah, you know, it is rare. In fact, we had a scare earlier this year. There was some folks predicting the apocalypse for this lunar tetrad, is what they're called. You know, so we usually get a couple of lunar eclipses a year. I think you mentioned that, or of total lunar eclipses a year, and you mentioned that earlier. And what's really interesting now is that starting last April, this is our second part of it, we got 4 total lunar eclipses in a row. April, this one in October, next April, and then September, to really kind of enjoy as a treat. It's really the geometry of the moon's orbit around the sun and how we're all lining up for the viewing. And I mean, while it is rare, there's 8 of them in the 21st century alone. The last one was in 2003. But you know, between 1600 and the year 1900, there were none at all. So that's like a 300-year stretch. So it is kind of like a rare treat.
And so why were there none then?
Well, just the geometry of the orbit. You know, the moon's orbit's tilted with respect to the Earth, and I think you talked about that earlier.
4 lunar eclipses. Right? Right? You think I'm on the right path there somewhere?
You do certainly, make a compelling case, Bob. You know, it is just an oddity of the Earth, Moon, Sun system that this can happen. I mean, just the fact that we get lunar eclipses and total solar eclipses at all is amazing, and for something like this to happen 4 times in a row in a 12-month period is just flabbergasting.
So do you think this will be like, it's going to happen so often that it's going to be, we mentioned IKEA in Paramus, New Jersey earlier. So,
I have been to that IKEA. So.
Right. I think we all have. So staying with since that's such a compelling analogy, staying with that for a while, once you've visited once or twice, you don't really feel that compelled to return really quickly again. We're going to get angry letters, by the way, from IKEA's attorneys, aren't we, about this? But you think people are going to say, hey, okay, they're sort of a dime a dozen, yawn, or is this going to hold its magic now that it's happening over and over again?
I think it really does, Bob, depend on the person, right? So at space.com, obviously we love space, and we know that every lunar eclipse is different, and they all have their own quirks. Maybe you get clouded out or whatever. So they're all really special, especially when I've missed the last two. It's been here since the beginning of the planet, and it had violent origins. It has these magnificent shows. It can blot out the sun. It's when you think about it, kind of in that perspective, it's an amazing thing to be able to do, and you don't need fancy equipment to see it. And if there's clouds, you can go online to see it. It's just it's within reach, really.
All right, so it sounds like you are pro-moon then.
I think I am. Yes.
So you vote on the pro-moon platform for the pro-moon candidate.
I think so.
So you know what? This is running a little bit afield, but there's two really bringing you back into this, Tarek. There is some thought that in human spaceflight, since you're into manned spaceflight, I'm going to fish little moons.
Where you are, it's going
for Uranus.
Yes, isn't that fascinating? So if you are where it's clear and you are an outdoors person, but you have your laptop, so you're listening to us, of course.
Other constellations, and
we're in an unusual. So that changed, as seen from traditionally been so.
It's there. It's one of the biggest objects we can see in the sky, and just to see it as a crescent hanging low in the sky, or a big full moon, or the way those phases changes, I think it's really hypnotic. From the age of a small boy, I was always interested, and what really appealed, I think, what I found amazing is people have been there. There are
1980s Pinatubo eruption. The first eclipse after that, I noticed, was almost black because there was a lot of dust in the air. So we're going to get a bit of an environmental report card about Earth's atmosphere by the color.
They may even be listening to us now on SLU. They may have even used the SLU telescopes to observe the moon. Who knows? But I'm sure they're there, and it's just a matter of time.
Fascinating. And it's a fascinating image that you've just given us. Radio telescopes on the far side of the moon. Now, I assume they'd be unmanned, but what if we had like a little setup, a little shack where the
And as the Earth shadow,
if you just look at the stats, clear air around the limb and a cloudless region, the moon can be barely darkened. In other words, it won't really turn dark. It will be hitting the opposite plane to the one that it's in now and be able to cross into our shadow once again. In roughly the same
music, and with the classical music, we put together these amazing, incredible images that have been brought back by NASA and ESA, and it's great. It's great fun. It really brings these pictures alive, and it brings the music alive too. So it's great synergy going on there. Terrific fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Duncan. We appreciate you this morning. We're going to take a really quick commercial break. Some of you will just see a black screen for 30 seconds, but we will be back in 30 seconds because coming up at 25 after the hour, and it is now 22 after the hour, so in about 3 minutes, that's when we go into totality. We're back in 30 seconds. Stay with us. Including this shot from Gerard Lazarus in Newcastle, Australia. Newcastle, interesting, in eastern Australia, where this eclipse is being seen in the evening as the sun goes down, the moon comes up. Actually, eastern Australia is the only part of Australia that will be seeing this eclipse. And of course, we also have our feed partner at the Griffith Observatory located in Los Angeles. All right, Bob, so we are now at 3:23 my time, 6:23 your time, and 10:23 Greenwich Mean Time, which means that we're about a minute and a half or so from totality.
Yes,
Tell
and
me
this is
what
the
goes
best.
on.
Okay, this is probably the best part of the entire eclipse, so far as I'm concerned.
Meteor shower will be viewable as the total occurs. Now, this is one of the not major meteor showers of the year, but the Draconoid's a well-known, well-predicted meteor shower, and this year, unfortunately, came at the full moon. But does this put us off the hook? Will we see meteors tonight?
Yes, you'll see more than usual because, quite right, once the moon is fully eclipsed, as it is now, the light will be so diminished that we'll be able to see background meteors. It's true, it's a minor meteor shower. You know, you're talking about perhaps 18 extra meteors per hour over the background rate. If you really want to get outdoors, any night between midnight and dawn, you'll see 6 an hour. That's, you know...
on average, you mean?
On average. So there's a little bit of a boost above that background rate tonight.
And we're looking at the moon tonight. Now, when people see the moon setting, which people on the East Coast will see right around, actually right before sunrise, and then it'll get progressively later as you go to the west, large when it's down on the horizon. And in fact, I was out walking with as the moon was rising here. Now, I'm in Southern California, so we saw the moon come up, and she commented to me how big optical illusion, right?
Well, it is. It is just a few days past perigee, so it's slightly larger than your average full moon. That's not what you were seeing. This is the famous moon illusion that makes anything in the sky look normal. In the sky look enormous when it's low. Even
oh, look at that. Hold on, Bob, let me just interrupt you for a second. Look at that shot right now. That's from our Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. That's gorgeous.
Yes, isn't that?